We are back on Taking Care of Business on Current Radio News Talk, 1180, 1230 KGEO, 1410 KERI, now in Albuquerque, New Mexico on 1000 KKIM, and now 3 times a week on the Internet, nationwide on knookmedia.com. We've got a real fascinating guest as our second guest here, a local author, and actually, I've known his wife for years. I've just had the pleasure of meeting him recently. He's a retired Air Force historian, author of 4 books on World War II, mostly on the Eastern Front, and his latest book is entitled Barbarossa Unleashed. Craig Luther. Craig, welcome to Taking Care of Business.
Thank you, Marty. It's great to be on your program.
Craig, interesting book here. I'm looking at this thing. It's 600 pages, but it's just fascinating. It's full of energy. So, couple questions for you. First of all, you're a retired Air Force historian. What's an Air Force historian?
Well, back in, I believe it was the fall of 1942, Marty, President Roosevelt passed an executive order, I believe it was, ordering all military service branches to maintain, if you will, their corporate memory. Since that time, every service branch has employed historians at all bases. In the U.S. Air Force, each base will have at least one historian. They tend more often than not now to be enlisted guys, enlisted folks, instead of civilians. So there are still a fair number of civilian historians in the program. I spent 16 years out at McClellan Air Force Base. About 10 of those years where I actually ran the history office there, and my last 11 out at Edwards Air Force Base here in Southern California. And our principal responsibility, again, is to maintain that corporate memory by writing an annual history of the activities, the mission-related activities that go on at the base. And out at Edwards, of course, they're responsible for almost all Air Force developmental flight testing of new platforms, new aircraft, of course, new weapon systems, and so forth. And we also maintain a large archive. There are a lot of folks very interested in Edwards history. That's, of course, where back in 1947, Chuck Yeager broke the sound barrier. We have lots of folks that come out from various television channels and so forth who want to film out there or even interview the historians for documentaries and so forth. So it was at times a very interesting and exciting job.
Oh, sure. Now, Craig, were you in the Air Force at the time, or were you working there as a civilian?
No, I started in 1984, and it was always, I worked for just about 27 years and always as a civilian.
Wow, that would be a fascinating job. I mean, I was going to be a history teacher once upon a time and got sidetracked and never went back to it. So whenever I talk to historians, it just it fascinates me because that's the direction I wanted to go once upon a time. Now, you're also a Fulbright scholar. What is a Fulbright scholar?
Well, Senator Fulbright from Arkansas. I don't recall how far the program. It goes back, I believe, to the 1950s or 1960s.
Yes, it does.
He established this exchange program to send scholars from the United States to countries all over the world, and conversely to have scholars from other countries come to the United States under a program which became known as the Fulbright Scholarship Program. And I went to Germany in 1979-80 under the auspices of the program just when I was beginning work on my doctoral dissertation.
Now, Craig, is that where you fell into this, because all 4 of your books are World War II regarding the Eastern Front. Is that where you've kind of fell into that groove? Because that's a fascinating subject, and it's an underdeveloped subject, I have to admit.
Well, I've always been interested in military affairs, and I suppose when I was younger, I started out with an interest in the Civil War. I've toured Civil War battle sites from Gettysburg to Vicksburg. In fact, I was in Vicksburg, Mississippi, on the 111th anniversary of its surrender. I was there, I think, on it was the 4th of July, 1974. But gradually, that interest sort of morphed, you might say, into an interest in German military operations during the Second World War. And a lot of my books have focused, or a lot of my work is focused on the Eastern Front. But, for example, my dissertation, which I was researching in Germany, and an earlier book dealt with a German military unit called the Hitler Youth Division, which went into combat on the 7th of June, 1944, in Normandy, the day after the Anglo-American forces had invaded at the Normandy beachhead.
Wow. We're having a conversation with Dr. Craig Luther, author of Barbarossa Unleashed, which is a great book about the German advance, or actually the advance it was to Moscow, then all of a sudden it was a retreat in World War II. So let's talk a little bit about your
Sure.
current book, which is, like I say, it's a great book. I highly recommend it. A very interesting book. When you're looking at, okay, let's try to set the stage here for our listeners.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about, 1938, I think it was, when Russia and Germany signed a non-aggression pact. So he basically left his Eastern Front alone by signing that pact with Stalin. And then that left Hitler free to go after the West. And what a lot of people don't realize is that Russia attacked Poland from the east while Germany was attacking Poland from the west. And that was actually the start of World War II. And then 2 years into it, all of a sudden, as Hitler pretty much has the West sewn up other than England, he decides to turn around and attack his ally, Russia. Is that pretty much a pretty good synopsis of what happened?
Yes, that is indeed what occurred. The pact between Hitler and Stalin, which literally shocked the world, occurred in late August of 1939. Hitler invaded Poland on the 1st of September. And then the Russians came in, and again, this has all been arranged. On the 17th of September, they attacked Poland from the east. And so once again, Poland, as it had been many times in the centuries before, was partitioned, this time between Germany and Stalin's Soviet Union. And the pact did, of course, free up Hitler to attack in the West, because he knew that his eastern flank was secure at that time, and he defeated France in the Low Countries, occupied Norway, but then things got a little wiggy for the Fuhrer, we might say. His attempts to take out Britain through an air campaign failed, and honestly, I don't think Hitler ever really had his heart in an invasion of England. For one thing, Germany, its armed forces, its Wehrmacht, as the Germans called it, didn't really have the force structure to launch an invasion over the English Channel. It just didn't have the naval forces to do that. And so eventually he was left with a dilemma. What was he going to do? What was Germany going to do? Even though it appeared to dominate at least Western Europe, what was it going to do to maintain its momentum? And in 1941, really the only option available to Hitler, because he knew, he was quite aware down the road that the United States under Roosevelt was going to enter the campaign and enter the war on the side of England, and how was he going to have the resources to deal with the full might of Anglo-American sea and naval power? The only way he could do that, in his view, was by conquering Russia, capturing its resources, the oil of the Caucasus, the grain in the Ukraine, the coal in the Donbass region, and so forth, and thereby, by conquering Russia, create what you would call a self-sufficient or autarkic European bastion from which he would be able to turn, redirect his armaments toward the Navy and the Air Force, and wage a final war for world power against the United States. So those were the immediate geopolitical or geostrategic conditions that existed, which basically compelled Hitler to turn against Russia. But there were also much deeper, what you might call programmatic reasons, which go back all the way to Hitler's Mein Kampf, his book, which he published in the mid-1920s.
In prison,
where he... I'm sorry, go ahead, Marty.
I think he was in prison. When we come back from the break, we've kind of set this up pretty well now. When we come back to the break, let's talk a little bit about the invasion, and let's tie it into what's going on today.
Sure, sounds good.
Okay, we'll be back in a moment on Taking Care of Business on Current Radio News Talk 1180.